Hello everybody, my name is Chris. Welcome back to another video. This is CK Fab. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you. This is the MiG 155 GD from Weldpro. It is an inverter, like all small machines. I'll get some B-roll in there and slap it in there so you guys can see every inch of.
That's what she said.
So first things first, the machine is a 155 amp machine. It is capable of gas MIG and stick. Like, it's not a dedicated flux core machine, but they do send you a wire of flux core, a roll of flux core wire in the box with the machine. It's I think it was 030, some flux core wire. It's like a 1 pound spool, so don't think you're gonna hop on there and do any like buy this machine and do a whole project or anything. You should definitely get some extra rolls or whatever. It's got two knobs. One is for wire feed speed and one is for volts. If you're on the stick function, you only use the first knob right here, and that is for your amps. That's all you need with MMA. That's what they call it. But yeah, that's like the basics of the machine. Now let's get into what I dislike about the machine. My first thing that I dislike about it is the wire feed speed slash amperage knob. It's not that precise. With stick, it's a little bit better because you have like 20 to 40 to 60 to 80, and it's 20 amp intervals, so that's pretty easy. But when it comes down to MIG and you're doing the wire feed speed, it goes from, the only numbers you see, it goes from 79 to 157 to 236 and 315 and 394. Those are the 315 from 336 is a huge jump. All of these are like 80 inches per minute jumps in intervals, so it's really hard to really dial in that like certain wire feed speed that you're trying to achieve. Like for most machines, you might have like a guide or something that'll tell you, you know, where to set your amperage for certain thicknesses and all that, and set your voltage and all that good stuff. And here, I guess we can go as that's a number 2. And here, there's really nothing there. And it doesn't come in the box or anything. If you go on a website, you'll be able to find it, but for the MiG 210 LCD, which is a higher up machine than this, it's like $800 compared to this one being like $500. Yeah, so compared to the other machines, this one's pretty bare bones, I guess. I'm kind of rambling now, but so basically I'm saying this machine doesn't have the accuracy that you would like. If you're a beginner, knowing what your numbers are set at, to me, is more crucial than your technique, because at least you can kind of set the machine correctly and then work on your technique. But if you're kind of always fiddling with like little numbers and blah blah blah, that kind of hinders your process if you're just learning. But me, I wasn't just learning when I got this, so I kind of was able to, if you're an intermediate welder, you can probably set this machine up pretty quickly. I mean, the setup's super easy, but as an intermediate welder, you could probably set this up and get the exact weld that you want, like, within the first couple of tries. But as a beginner, you'd probably be like trying for like a longer period of time than that to really find out where you want your settings at. But yeah, off of that topic, I'm gonna move on. So my second gripe about this machine is the fact that it only can fit a 2-pound spool in here. It's not a big deal because if you're not out there welding all the time, a 2-pound spool will last you a pretty decent amount of time. I think the most welding I ever did was maybe a month or two after I got this, because I had to do some work on my car, and I did some work on some friends' cars, and I think a spool lasted me like a couple, like maybe 3 or 4 of these jobs that I were doing, and maybe even longer. Like, I don't think I like replaced it after that, but I think soon after I might have changed my setup up to fit, because at first I was running flux core, now I'm using solid wire just to get, you know, better welds and better results and cleanliness and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's really only my second gripe with it. If it could fit like the size up spool, that would be great. Like, I wouldn't care if it was a little bit bigger if it fit the size up spool, but its size is one of the benefits of the machine. So I get why it only fits a smaller spool, is to keep the footprint of the machine smaller. But it would be nice if maybe this little section right here was a little bigger, so we could fit a bigger spool. So my third gripe with this machine is how short the lead is. Maybe I can back this up and try to get the lead all in the frame, but this is the whole lead. It's like maybe 10 feet long. That's really all it is. If it was longer, it would be great. If it was, you know, if there was somewhere where I could find a longer one, that would be great. But on the website, the only upgrade is just basically a better feeling torch, but it's still the same length. It might be like 2 feet longer, but to me that's not really an upgrade. It's just like a waste of money. I'd like to get one that's like 15 feet long, so that maybe I can sit it in the back of, like, I can sit it underneath my awning and weld when maybe the weather's a little bit damp or something, and I don't have to bring it out. Because I've done that before. I've used this machine in the wet. I've used it in muddy places, dirty places, and it's held up. I used it in places that were just nothing but sand, and it's did its job. So I commend it on that, even though we're in the gripe section of this video, but I still commend it on that. It's definitely been a good working video. I mean, good working welder. Have to say about this, I'm gonna move on to things that are kind of pros about this welder. Then I'll give my conclusion on whether it's worth the money. I have some add-ons that really make this a better welder. So, you know. So I would say the first pro of this welder is the price. It's not too cheap to where you're getting, like, you're basically wasting money and you should have just got something better. But it's not too expensive to where it underperforms for the price that it's at. Like I say, I think I got it for like $500 shipped. I remember the price was like $460-ish. And, you know, tax, I think I got free shipping on it, and I'm sure it was like $500 shipped. I bought some wire, an extra roll of wire, another $20. And I was doing little welding jobs just to make some extra money to basically pay off the welder, and I definitely did that within like the first job that I used it on. I was just fixing some rust holes on someone's car that hit me up on Facebook, and made about $400 off of that. So welder's basically paid off. But I would say that really makes this welder shine. It's a lot smoother than you would think it is. Yeah, it has hiccups sometimes, but I figured using different like wire tensions and all that good stuff to get it to roll smoother. That's how you get like the arc's really smooth. The stick section, the stick welding feature is I've used it a couple times just to see how it is, but I don't really stick weld like that, so I probably can't be the best judge of that. So I would say it seems like it blows the breaker a lot quicker on the stick welding feature. Even at lower amps, it just trips the breaker, so I don't know what that is, but that's just what it is. I've never used this machine on 220. I would really like to get the chance to. I'm going to try to make that happen in my basement soon so that I can do just a bunch of welding and not have to worry about running upstairs to flip the breaker every time I want to put some heat into something. But yeah, that's my first pro about this machine, is just the price of it. It fell in where, and it does the job. Like I said, I don't have a 220, so I can't really turn this machine up, but I welded at least like 3/8 material, preheated, not preheated, but beveled, and you know, like multiple pass welded to really get deep penetration, and this thing just throws it in there. For stuff like that, I would recommend like flux core. If you're buying this machine and you're gonna be doing mostly thicker metals, I would look into like flux core and dual shield. It's just gonna burn in deeper. You're gonna get better penetration with about the same amount of amps. If that's what you're doing, I mean, if you're doing really thick stuff, you might as well just get a better, like a bigger, better machine. And Weldpro has some machines like that. I'm not like they're not paying me to do this video, but they have better machines. If you're like, oh, I kind of like the price points of them, and I'm looking for a little cheap brand and maybe support, then yeah, Weldpro. If you just want a cheap little welder and you don't care about like customer service, yeah, grab this one. Second pro about the machine is the fact that you can plug it into 110 and 220. Like everyone knows that's the best thing. I've been doing little small jobs at my friend's house or something, and no one really has a 220 outlet. And if you have a 220 outlet in your garage, your basement, or home or something, then that's a pretty big deal. This thing will keep doing it. It won't blow the breaker, because I've done like body panels on cars, like little patchwork, and I've had this thing like at its minimum. I've had both of the dials turned all the way down, and never tripped a breaker, and it's working flawlessly. Maybe with hardwire, because I did this with flux core, that's the crazy part. Maybe with hardwire you got to turn it up a little bit, but I don't see you blowing a breaker with really, really thin metal. Maybe if you're like really zapping it and you're, you know, getting like arcs, not arcs, but if you're like continuously starting like really fast, maybe you'll blow the breaker. But if you're just, you know, zapping it in, letting it cool, zapping some more metal in, then you should be fine with this thing. That's the one pro. Second pro about the machine is just how light it is. I've been able to carry like this machine, a bucket of tools, and you know, welding jacket and all the little leads and all that, and it's, you know, it does what it does. It's, I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. It's not that heavy, so that's a good thing about the machine. So the next pro about this machine is that it doesn't come with the spool gun, but it comes spool gun ready, so you can basically just use a spool gun with it. There's a certain one, it's got to have this type of connection. I don't remember, so don't quote me on it, but it's like a DIN style or something, but it has to come with like one of these that kind of matches basically the regular gun that's in there. This is a Weldpro gun, so if you go on Weldpro's website, this gun is like 150 bucks. Kind of expensive, but it's okay. That's what gets me on to my next point about the high pressure cylinders, what I was getting to back then. To run the spool gun, you need a big cylinder of argon, and I bought a cylinder of argon that was basically 400 bucks. I think it was like 389, and it hurt to buy that just to freaking weld some aluminum up, but at least the machine could do it. I didn't have to go out and get an AC DC TIG welder or learn how to stick weld aluminum. I didn't have to go do none of that things. I just bought the spool gun. Everything was okay. How I feel about this machine is that it is exactly what I paid for, with a little bit extra. No, it's exactly what I paid for with a little bit extra. For 400 bucks, it's crazy what you can get these days. 600 bucks, let's say $600 all in, you could get a welder, spool gun, and a little bottle of CO2. If you want to get a little bottle of argon, let's say you pay another $250 for it, that's like you're like $900 in. For $1,000, you can basically start making things. Or you can go do something like buy a shitty car. You could, I don't know, buy a TV or something, and like an Xbox or a PlayStation. You could buy all these things that don't matter for like that price, but when you think about it, that makes this thing such a good deal. Is that, yeah, it's not a Miller, it's not a Lincoln, but it's the same it's the same thing in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing. It's the same thing. Even a beginner's not gonna care that it doesn't have all the fancy gadgets and all that. Yeah, it might be nice, but a beginner's just gonna be like, boom, I can stick this metal together, it works, it's not hard to use, it's not some crazy sophisticated machine that I have to set up all the parameters before I even strike an arc. It is just a simple turn the knob, set it to what you want, you know, put your ground and your lead on, start welding, hook up, you know, plug it in, and you're good to go. So that's what I like about this machine. I say you get a little bit more than your money's worth because it's already spool gun capable, and in that case, if you get the spool gun and a little bottle of argon, you can basically weld all three materials that are the main three materials. You can weld you can weld flux core steel and stainless steel. I don't know if you guys know, but there's stainless steel flux core nowadays, and it works, and it works fine. This machine, if you're gonna do stainless steel flux core, you might want to get a 220 outlet installed in your house, or maybe think about a generator or something if you already have one, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you already have one in your garage, you have a 220 outlet in your garage, then this machine will work perfectly for you. You won't have, I'm not going to say you're not going to have any problems, but the only problem I have is when I'm welding, I blow a breaker when it comes to this machine. That's all I really got to say about that. About the company, I would say it seems like there's really no support when it comes to product. Just so I did have one problem with the machine, but I kind of feel like, I won't say it was my fault, but one day I was coming in with my tools, I tripped and I dropped the welder, and I dropped all my tools and all that shit. You know, hurt my knee pretty bad. It wasn't a good day, but when I went to go turn the welder on the next day, or maybe like 2 days later, it would start, but the LED screen right here, it's not LED screen, but all the like things that let you know the machine's on up here basically weren't on or whatever. And when I pressed the trigger, it didn't do anything. So I just hit the company up like, look, my welder's in warranty still. Maybe you guys can give me some troubleshooting or whatever the case may be. These guys never hit me back. Like, I don't have an email in my inbox till this day. But long story short, all I did was take the welder apart. I noticed that one of the plugs for this little main switch right here was unplugged. I plugged it back in and it worked flawlessly. Another like problem I had with it after that was it wasn't really even a problem, but one day I went to turn the machine on and it was like, it would start up and then it would cut off like within like a second or two. and I did that like 2 or 3 times, and it, you know, kept cutting on and cutting off. So I just like slapped the side of it a couple times, and it turned back on. It was good to go. So, is the machine durable? Maybe you could say that if you're a guy that's like, oh no, I'm not gonna touch it. And if I was a guy that would not touch this, I would basically have like a broken welder because of the motherboard being unplugged, and I didn't know what it was, and the company never hit me back. So I feel like, yeah, that kind of sucks when it comes to the company. But as a machine, you know, a little thing came undone, and like I said, the day before, I think 2 days prior, I had dropped it. So it's not really on the machine, but that does kind of go, it's not that durable, but I guess it was durable enough to where that was just the only problem. I was doing some editing on the video, and I realized that I didn't film an outro. Sorry about that, but here it is. Those are my thoughts on the Weldpro MiG 155 GD. It's been some time, so, you know, things look a little different down here, but yep, that's how I feel about it. If you liked the video, maybe leave a comment, smash the like button, and consider subscribing. Thank you. Oh, sneak peek for the next video. I just got this Prime Weld 225. I think it's a Prime Weld 225 XD or XP or something, and that'll most likely be the next video on the channel. So see you next time.